Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: sex workers of Reddit. What's the weirdest kink a customer has asked you to fulfill? Oh, I also had a guy out of his mind on Molly have me over for like 5 hours but had me arrive at midnight, then proceeded to dress me in every Halloween costume he had ever worn and photograph me in pirate stuff, Lotor costume and a wizard a large staff taller than I am. Guy who makes the Radiots YouTube vids. Why didn't I get on the vid? I have hella upvotes and 2 awards. Kinda sad about it. I put on his wizard hat and robe. Online only here. I had a man pay me $500 to sit on my feet in panties and a t-shirt and turn my back to the camera and play video games while ignoring the camera. Worth. Edit: since this blew up, it was via cam online, so he wasn't there in person. Yes, I have below zero. I bought it day one, but unfortunately my PC has way too low specs for it, so it sits unplayed in my Steam account. Thanks for all the fun comments, guys. I did not expect this to go off like it did. You're all cool people. What game did you play? Wow, that's a lot of upvotes. Subortica. I needed to grind some materials anyways for my Cyclops, so it was easy to pass the time that way. I used to sell a friend of mine sleeping pills. She had a client who liked them being injected to his dick and tried to fuck her before he went to sleep. Would take about 10 to 15 minutes before he crashed out. She was always paid up front and she would leave when he fell asleep. Well, that's one way to flip drugs. I could never imagine getting injected into the dick. Saw this thing years ago, was something like 101 ways to die. This guy used a dirty heroin needle to the dick and it got infected and basically fell off and then he died. Fuck that. In a special massage place, friend of a friend of a friend told me that one of her customer comes in regularly to get his ass cheek scratched for 1 hour. That sounds heavenly. I'd like that TBH. A customer had a fishing fetish, got fisher outfits for some girls like a raincoat or some shit and brought a fishing rod, boots and all, and the girls had to act like they were fishing him while he was laying on the floor and moved like a fish. Craziest shit I heard, but whatever floats their boat, I guess. Sounds like you met a sketch comedy artist. I was camming and a guy wanted to start a paper-minute camming show. I agreed and just casually talked with him for a bit. Then to the weird part. He wanted me to lie in full view of the camera, completely still, like literally not move. I spent about an hour just laying completely still and making no sound. I have no idea what he got out of it. I heard that some artists ask cam girls to do some certain things so they can draw them and work on anatomy. Why not take a screenshot? Maybe it was a power thing. Like he did it just cause he could. This is the most likely reason. People can get a feeling of power from any number of out of the norm situations. I was a cab driver for several years. Night shift, ghetto. Loved that job. I had a regular escort who always requested me, probably because I didn't ask her for anything whilst driving her to her next John. She'd go up into an apartment, house, or hotel room and have me wait. Sometimes a full hour, but rarely over 15 minutes. I never argued because waiting and a return trip keeps the meter running longer. One time she came down after maybe 10 minutes. She looked half amused and half terrified. She said that the guy had her put on a muumuu and an old lady wig, then yell at him while he took a shit and, edit for clarification, during, he jacked off. Fucking weird. Freud would have something to say about that guy, no doubt. Freud would have loved the internet. What the fuck? I'm an erotica writer, and I've had some strange requests for commissions over the years. I've written about the guy who wanted to be sounded by a Hot Wheels car before, but there have been a bunch of times when people have asked for things that have been unusual. I had one guy who was really into whatever a bird furry is, a feathery, I suppose. And asked for a story about getting a hand job from someone with a needle claw. I pointed out that that would technically be a foot job, and he never got back to me. There was also one guy who wanted me to edit his writing and just berate him for all his mistakes in the comments. Basically, he wanted a sort of Microsoft Word student/teacher roleplay thing where I'd correct all his errors and tell him what a stupid little boy he was and how he was going to be a failure as a writer and no one would ever read his stuff. I didn't take the job in the end, because A, it felt a little too close to just talking this guy off rather than writing a story, and I was in a relationship at the time, and B, he offered about 2/3 of what my then editing rate was. If he wanted an editing job and to get off from it, my logic went, he should have been paying more, not less. There have also been a couple of people who've asked for writing based on an image prompt, which is fine, but usually it's a sexy woman or a particularly fetishy image, you know, latex, bondage, all that good stuff. One guy sent me a picture of a chair. Just a chair, by itself. It was a very nice chair, but I had to check with him before I wrote it in case I'd missed something about the whole transaction. In the end, I wrote a very nice little piece about a woman bent over it, waiting for her dom to come home and fuck her. Turned out he wasn't a chair fetishist, he just liked my work and wanted to see what I'd come up with. Everybody fucks funny. I love how you don't want to sound rude when talking about the chair. It was a very nice chair. This is the definition of no kink shaming. It was genuinely a nice chair. I mean, if you were going to jerk off to a chair, that chair would have to be a strong contender for being the sort of chair you'd jerk off to. It was that sort of a chair. A client pays me to teach him how to blow his nose properly, making sure to say key phrases like blow it clear. Another one set up a fantasy scenario where I receive an expensive vibrator in the mail, but when I open it, discover a tiny man that's stuck in it. He said what you don't know is that man was a factory worker that got stuck in the vibrator making it. I was obviously confused where he wanted me to go with this, but suggested I should try using the vibrator with the man attached. Nope. The client replied, I can't come unless you destroy it. Ha ha ha. These are great. Some people have such specific kinks. I had a piss baby once whose dialogue was so extensive. It was hard in the beginning because you could just hear him playing out past abuse. But I knew I could help him without judgment and he wouldn't get the same treatment from everyone. It was hard work because he wanted me to spank him with my bare hand at the end. Turns out it's hard to spank someone. Is a piss baby exactly what it sounds like, or? This might be the weirdest one for me. I think the strangest I've ever gotten was a man who had a huge fetish for Disney characters, and I'm not even talking just Disney princesses. He loved shit like Lilo and Stitch or Pooh Bear. He regularly paid me several hundred to dress up as his favorite characters and basically verbally abuse him. It was a sweet gig while it lasted, however strange. Nothing really surprises me anymore after that one. Edit, this blew up way more than I expected. I'll try and get to everyone's questions and messages eventually. Thank you all for being so kind and open-minded. Honestly, the idea of somebody shit-talking me while cosplaying a Disney character sounds so absurdly hilarious that I think it could actually be a fun time. Just not a legitimately sexy time. It actually is fun sometimes. I love being a dominatrix, it's just hard to stay in character and act sexy while I'm dressed up as Pooh Bear. I'm sorry, but I can't stop laughing at the idea of Pooh calling someone a useless piece of trash and said person wanking off to it. Edit, thank you for all the upvotes and the award. Trust me, it's very hard to not laugh while in character. My fellow sex worker friends and I constantly have to hold back from cackling at some of the requests we get. After reading through this thread, I'm nowhere near the perverted bastard I thought I was. My fetish is to have sex with a woman. We found the real sadistic fuck right here. I used to drive around prostitutes and do security for them. Very regularly, one of the girls would get a call from this guy who would have her show up in steel toe boots and kick him repeatedly in the dick and face as hard as she could. He paid her $200 to beat him until he passed out, usually 6 to 8 minutes. That became a once or twice a week thing for well over a year I was driving her. I'll never understand how people can get sexual enjoyment from being physically hurt like that. Totally baffles me, but I guess if he kept hiring her, he must have really got a kick out it. I'm a dancer in a club and I love kinky guys. Other than the doms, I won't get into that whole thing. Kinky guys trend to be pretty passive and tip well. Mostly I meet foot guys, cuckolds, men who wear women's undergarments, and just overall subs who are open to whatever I'm into. After 15 years in the industry, I thought I'd heard it all. Then I met a guy who said he was into bones. As in, he bought a 45-minute room and just wanted to feel my skeleton. He was touching my collarbone and hips pretty hard. It wasn't the most comfortable dance ever, but he was so grateful to be acting out his fantasy and super respectful of me and my time. One of my favorite guys ever. Update, you all have really great questions and responses. I would love to answer meaningfully as I enjoy my work and love to talk about it. Just gonna take some time. I'm guessing that skeleton guy had a hard time in biology class. So class, in conclusion, the mitochondria is. Michael. What are you doing back there with Mr. Bones? Had a roommate in college, 2000Z, who did private adult videos by request only, basically expensive personalized video porn. She came home pretty bummed one day and I asked what was up. She said she had been paid $500 to put on an adult diaper and comically large baby bonnet and walk otherwise naked around a local college green space. The whole video was her walking around with her fingers in her mouth acting like a confused adult baby. At the end she was told to pee in the diaper and show the camera. When she thought she was done, the director asked if she wanted to poo in the diaper for $1,500 instead of $500, saying the client asked if it was possible. She declined immediately and the director was, I guess, okay with it. She was bummed she missed out on making an extra $1,000 because she had pooped before going to work. We both laughed so fucking hard. What a ridiculous thought, darn, if only I hadn't pooped before work I'd be making some real money. That's why I always poop at work, so I'm earning money whilst taking a dump.